You can now feature your listings on HomeGain.com for 3 months for free. Your listings will be featured in an exclusive and ad-free environment on HomeGain.com. You will also get a free blogging platform from HomeGain that you can use to position yourself as the top agent in your market area. To start your free trial HomeGain membership, call 866-512-7913 to speak to a HomeGain representative. That's 866-512-7913. Are you or someone you know looking to buy or sell a home? When you use a HomeGain Realtor to buy or sell a home, you can get $150. Visit HomeGain.com and click on the Promo 150 banner at the top of the page to get started. Compare HomeGain Realtors and choose your favorite. Complete your home purchase or sale transaction with a HomeGain Realtor, and HomeGain will pay you $150. Get started today by going to HomeGain.com.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Washington, D.C. Metro with local expert Ryan Sloper. Now, here is Ryan.
Welcome back, Washington, D.C. Metro, to Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Sloper, joined by Louis Cammarosano, with General Manager of HomeGain. And we're trying to get on the line here in just a second. Brandon Wentz, who is Farmers Insurance Agent. We wanted to kind of cover, with all the tornadoes and everything that's going on, to make sure that people understand that they have the right coverage and what they do in the case of this catastrophe, who they call, and what that process involves. Quick reminder, Real Estate Radio is designed to build the Washington, D.C. Metro's market by giving you good free advice. If you ever have any questions, concerns, or real estate needs, the best number to reach out to us is 877-245-2030. That's 877-245-2030. Before we jump into the insurance, we want to go ahead and give you your mortgage matters for this week. Bonds have inched down a bit over the last couple weeks. This has caused rates to rise and will continue probably for a foreseeable future. It's a good time for you out there to get off the fence if you're looking to buy or sell real estate, because you'll never have a lower cost of home ownership than probably right now. We've been seeing, a significant uptick in rates over the last, 3 or 4 months, and that's likely to continue, especially as Louis and I have discussed numerous times with the weakening dollar, with the rising commodity prices, everything else. It's going to happen. So if you're in the market to sell your home or buy a new home, it's probably a good time, because typically with lower interest rates, sellers are able to get more bang for their buck. Buyers are going to be willing to pay more money because they can afford more of a house. And if you're looking to buy, you can buy more of a house for a lower payment. And if you are in those high rent districts, it makes sense to potentially look and see if it's going to be cheaper for you to own a house versus rent if you plan on living in the area for 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 years. So the best advice I can give you is to reach out to a trusted professional, a financial consultant like myself, that can look at your individual situation and make sure that you're advised properly. And buying a home is not for everyone. However, in certain circumstances, it makes complete sense, and there can be some long-term benefits there. Please reach out to me at 877-245-2030. That's 877-245-2030, and I would be glad to personally advise you. Well, we got Brandon Wentz, who's Farmers Insurance Agent, on the line. Brandon, are you there?
Yes. Hey, how are you, Ryan?
I'm doing well, Brandon. How about yourself?
Fantastic. Thanks a lot for having me today.
Oh, great. It's a pleasure having you on. I think it's perfect timing. We've had so much going on as far as, basically these natural disasters that have been going on up and down the eastern seaboard. And I'm sure, obviously, with the tornadoes that took place in Raleigh and even hit bits and pieces of Virginia.
Correct.
A lot of listeners basically have questions about insurance and, what happens when these catastrophes take place? Well, what's the first thing they should do? Or, what steps do they take ahead of time to make sure that they're insured properly?
Well, I think that you definitely want to make sure with your and all of your insurances that you don't run into a problem much like the one we had with Katrina, where it was hard to determine whether or not it was wind damage, which is going to be covered under a home policy, or whether it was flood that washed your house away. I guess that you need to make sure that if you are in a flood zone, that you definitely have flood insurance, or at least get an estimate on it. It is very inexpensive. But all your homeowners' policies are going to have coverage for wind. It's gotten a lot worse, it seems like, in Virginia, not so much in northern with wind, but definitely on the coastline. And you need to find out what your deductible is for wind. There are a lot of companies out there that will force you to take what's called a percentage deductible in the event that you do live, say, in the Norfolk area, Virginia Beach area. And people need to understand if you have a 1 or a 2 or a 3% deductible on your homeowner's insurance, that's not a percentage of the claim. That's a percentage of what they insure your house for. So if you have a $500,000 dwelling coverage on your policy and you have a 3% deductible, that's quite a lot of money to come out of pocket with. That's a $15,000 deductible. So, people just need to be aware of that and make sure that the coverage is there.
Now, you think that, some people obviously take the higher deductibles because they're trying to cheapen up their payment, but obviously, that's the whole purpose of insurance is to make sure, when you do have these extreme circumstances that, you're not having to come out with too much money out of pocket, and you might not even be able to afford to pay the deductible.
Correct. Yeah, it's something that where you really need to sit down with an agent. It's going to take the time to go over all the options, deductible by deductible. I know that even 10 years ago, the insurance has changed so much in the past 10 years. 10 years ago, we still have clients in my agency, not many, but that still have a $250 deductible, which is unheard of now. If you go to buy a home, the average, I would say, in Northern Virginia is probably going to be a $1,000 deductible. I have some clients that have $1,500, and then, of course, with some of the homes that are extremely large, up to a $5,000 or even maybe a $10,000 deductible. But if you buy a house for, say, $150,000, even $250,000, it doesn't make sense to go with a $5,000 deductible because the savings just isn't going to be there.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to look at the relationship between how much you're going to save and how much more risk you're putting on yourself.
Yep.
With taking such a high deductible, but and that, and make sure that your dwelling amount is sufficient. I just as in 2003, 4, 5, the home values kept going up and up and up. Well, now they've come down so much. You need to get your policy looked at, if you haven't in the past several years, to make sure that you're not overinsured, because then you're paying for something that you potentially won't ever use.
And what about, I know a big question and that always pops up, especially when you have these natural disasters like tornadoes and such, the contents of the home. Don't you need to make sure that you have proper coverage there as well? Because just imagine a tornado wipes through your house.
Most definitely. The dwelling A, the coverage A, they call it, is going to be in relationship to how much contents you're going to have on your policy. So normally, let's say that you have a $500,000 dwelling, you're going to have somewhere around 75% of that automatically included for your personal property. However, certain things aren't going to be covered unless you list them on the policy as what's called a floater or a rider. For example, jewelry, furs, cash, guns, all those things need to be listed. Cash, of course, is going to be limited no matter what. But
right.
If you have a $5,000 or $10,000 engagement ring that you bought for your wife, well, most of the time, if you don't list that on the policy, $1,500 is normally going to be the max that they'll pay out per piece.
Yeah.
And it's very inexpensive to add that. Personal property is one of those things where, in my opinion, what I always tell my clients is every couple of years at least, if not annually, especially when you first move into the home, you need to take a video recorder and walk around your house very slowly to get every little detail and all your contents, go through all your drawers. And then you take that tape and email it to yourself. That way you always have it in your Yahoo or Google account. God forbid the home burns down or there is a tornado and everything's scattered all over the streets. You can just simply show the adjuster that videotape, and you don't really have to prove anything because you already have by doing so. If not, if there's a fire and everything's burned up, it's kind of hard to prove that you had 10 or 15 suits or
right.
Pretty expensive furniture, etc. That's the smartest way I've found to really protect yourself.
Yeah, that's actually a really great tip, Brandon. You're listening to Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Sloper, joined by Brandon Wentz, who's a farmer's insurance agent. Brandon, it's kind of interesting that you said that because, one of the videos that they showed yesterday was, a house that had been completely ripped to shreds, and the guy's in there digging around, and the only thing he could find was his wedding album, and you could kind of see it in his eyes. It was probably there's no way in the world he probably had a lot of the stuff that he wanted covered. and you have so much of your life tied up in your house that it's, people really should take more time with sitting down with their insurance agent to make sure that they do have covered what they want.
Most definitely. And when something like that happens, it's hard to even remember how much stuff you really had. I mean, certain things that you don't look at all the time, put in the back of the closet, and you don't realize it until it's gone. Or, even once you try to replace everything that you had, a year later you go, oh wow, I forgot I had this, and now it's gone. And so that video tip could potentially save that.
Yeah, absolutely. What about people, let's say that, this did hit right in the middle of Northern Virginia, this tornado, and people have insurance. What do they do? I mean, do they reach out? I mean, how fast do things turn around with these claims and whatnot? I mean, I think a lot of people are just curious as to where would I go? Am I living out of a hotel?
Sure.
What's the deal there?
Well, I know Farmers we're a very large company. Our claims, we kind of thrive on it. We have an excellent claims team. And basically the way that it works is, of course, if it's 9 to 5 or sometimes even 8 to 8, my office is open depending on what day it is. You can always call me and we can talk before putting in the claim. However, if it's something major, I tell my clients automatically just call the Help Point number. We call it Help Point Claims, and it's a 24-hour-a-day call center where you can actually put the claim in. For example, if you had a house fire or a tornado incident and you couldn't live there, we'll put you up into a fully furnished comparable home. I say fully furnished because we don't want you to go out and rebuy all of your clothing. Of course you would have to, but not furniture, because then you just have to pay to move it again. We only want you to have to move it in once, hence the fully furnished aspect of it. Our claims adjusters have about normally a 48-hour window to contact and just kind of touch base and make sure that everything that's needed is there for our clients. A lot of the times it's done within 24 hours, especially on major disasters like this. And we'll put you up in a fully furnished home for as long as it takes for us to rebuild your house, which is normally going to be anywhere between 6 to 8, maybe 10 months max, depending on how big the home is. So.
Well, that's good. I mean, I think that there, is kind of what you said. They're having the ability to call somebody too, being able to call you.
Yes.
And not just maybe having to dial into an 800 number and feel like you're completely lost in the chain of a waiting line to get on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there is some real value there to be able to contact somebody.
Yeah.
Brandon, I think you've given some great tips to our listeners today. Would you mind giving your contact information out for anybody that has any questions?
Most definitely. And I can service all of Virginia, primarily in Northern Virginia, but there isn't any part in Virginia that we can't take care of. My office number is 703-490-4903, and my email, if anybody wants to reach out to me that way, is bwince@farmersagent.com.
Awesome, Brandon. I really appreciate you coming on, and I'll look to have you on real soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'll talk to you.
Thanks, Brandon. We're coming up on our final segment. When we come back, we are going to dive into vulture investors flipping their way to big profits. Stay right there.